Hello students, welcome back. So in the last class we have started the discussion on structure of the operating system. I think it might be little confusion to you to understand structure in the last video. So now I have made that into very simple, and in the simple manner I am going to explain today. So as you know, there are I can explain structure of the operating system in three ways. One is a simple structure, and the next one is layered structure, and the other one is microkernel structure of the operating system. Simple structure is also called as monolithic structure. Here structure refers to the architecture of the operating system, and which architecture is constructed, or in which a way it is constructed, that we call it as a structure of the operating system. Fine. In the simple structure or monolithic, as you are seeing on the screen, it is very small and it is a simple also, and it was using before earlier days. People are using this simple structure, and it is not well defined. Why it is not well defined? And this side you can see the figure that represents simple structure of the uh, operating system. So here you can see different layers are there again, and don't get confused, here also layers are there, and layered structure. No, this is not a layered structure, this is a simple structure. If I want to say it is a layered, at least minimum 6 layer it should have, then only we call it as a layered structure. Now it is a simple structure. Fine. Here you can see application program is there, resident system program is there, MS DOS device drivers are there, ROM BIOS device drivers are there. Application program in the sense where the user wants to access some software or program. Okay. Resident system program in the sense once you open any software or any program, if you write, system has to understand that uh, program or the application whatever you have launched. So to understand that application, system has to provide some facilities, that is a resident system program. I am dealing, or I am explaining this simple structure with the help of MS DOS operating system. So here there should be device drivers must be there. Device driver in the sense some drivers are required to execute or to access the hardware. Okay, that we call it as a device drivers in the sense which drives those device. For example, audio driver is there, video driver is there, graphic driver is there, many kinds of device drivers will be there. And again last one is ROM. It means read only memory, basic input output system device drivers. But here what happens in the simple structure is every layer in this simple structure are connected to the other layers. Say for example, if you are seeing the first layer, that is application layer. Okay, so I'll point with the help of the pointer. See, this is the layer if you are dealing now. Okay, if this is a case, so it is connected to the next layer, which is resident system program, and also it is connected to the ROM BIOS device drivers. Correct. So this is the way it is not maintained properly. Correct. So now if you observe the resident system program, it is connected to the next layer, that is MS DOS device drivers. Okay, so this one, so next this one, and this one. Now if any error, means application program where the user wants to launch his own program, that is understood by the resident system program, and it has to check whether the driver is there or not in the system, that is MS DOS device driver, and that will check the ROM, means memory, whether the memory having the device driver like BIOS, so those will execute the program. But in the simple structure, if the error occurs in any of the layer, that may affect to other layers. That is the problem of the simple structure. Say application program can directly access the resource of the ROM BIOS. See here I am mentioning the arrow mark, right? It is connected to the ROM device driver also, and it is also connected to the resident subsystem program also. If any error occurs during the time of accessing device driver from the application layer itself, it is directly connected to the ROM BIOS device drivers also, right? So if any error occurs here, that may affect this application program to access resident system program also, because application program also connected to the resident system also, and it is also connected to the ROM BIOS also. So what I am going to tell you is, these layers are directly connected to the all the layers or each other. Any error occurred in the any of the layer, that may affect to the other sub programs also. That is a major disadvantage of the simple structure, okay? And it is not properly planned, because all layers can access directly other layers also. That is a problem of the simple structure. That is the second point I have mentioned, that not divided into modules. So in the simple structure, it is not divided into modules. Although MS-DOS has some structure, because some structure we have right here. This is a structure again, application program or next to resident, next to MS-DOS, next to ROM, but its interface and levels of functionality are not well separated. These are not separated, these are dependent. So this is the problem of the simple structure. Hope you understood. Example for the MS-DOS, or example for the structured or simple structure, is MS-DOS and Unix, okay? Okay, in this simple structure, other layers are directly connected to the hardware. Say hardware in the sense, here we have ROM BIOS device drivers are there, right? These are the hardware. Sometimes it may also connected to the software. So this is not properly separated, or not properly made into modules. So this is the problem of the simple structure. So the next structure is built, which is next architecture we can call, that is a layered structure, okay? So now we will discuss something about layered structure. So what happens in the layered structure is, the operating system is divided into number of layers, okay? Not we are taking dependent on their functionality, we will divide that operating system into number of layers. If I say number of layers, that is nothing but number of different levels, okay? And each built on top of lower layers, means every layer has some lower layer to it, okay? Some of the higher level also will be there, but other lower layers are included, okay? The bottom layer, we can call it as the layer 0, okay? Here you are seeing now the bottom layer or layer 0 is the hardware, okay? You keep in mind that bottom layer is what? Hardware. Hardware in the sense whether it is an input device, output device, keyboard, mouse, any memory device, hard disk, whatever the case is, but the bottom layer is, or layer 0 is hardware. And the highest layer is always interface. Interface in the sense, I have to mention some of the interface right here. If you want, you can note it down, that graphical user interface is there, command line interface is there. Interface is the thing where the user can access the system, okay? Say if you want to open file, if you are using Unix, you can type open file, you can type the command, okay? But if you are using Windows, you can double click to open the file. But that is what interface is. Graphical user interface consisting of number of images, icons or anything. Command line interface in the sense, based on the command we are operating the system, but that is whatever we are doing with the system, that is the interface, right? Okay, now come to here. The bottom layer is always hardware, the highest layer is what? User interface. With the modularity in the sense, we are dividing the operating system into different layers based on their functionality. That functionality dividing is called as a modularity, okay? We are separating with some layers with their modularity in the sense particular function, okay? Layers are selected such that uses of functions, this is what I am telling, functions in the sense its operation, okay? And services of only lower level layer, in the sense each layers are connected adjacently. Adjacent layers are only connected, other layers are not connected, okay? Higher layer is connected to the next its lower layer, that layer is connected to the next its lower layer. And what we have achieved by doing this layered structure, by doing the layered structure, if any occurs in that particular layer, it will not affect to all the system of the operating system. It will only affect that particular layer. Okay, that is advantages also. Correct. If you want to, here you can see the diagram that consisting circles. So layer 0 is a hardware, layer 1 means it is a one of the layer with its particular function. It may be memory management, process management, whatever. Next layer, like layer n is a user interface. So if you want to see some layer what the function can be divided, so here you can see. So I have taken some layers like 6 layers. I have taken layer 0 to layer 5. I told that highest layer always is the user interface. So I have written the function is user program. Getting my point? Okay. Next. So I will make this into, okay. Then layer 4. Layer 4 is the lower layer for the layer 5. That may have the function like IO management. Means layer 4 may manage the input and output devices. Okay. Layer 3 may be operator process communication. You will understand this process communication in the next unit. Okay, CPU scheduling, process management, you can understand. And layer 2 may be the memory management, which is used for managing the memory. Correct. And layer 1 is the CPU scheduling. This is also, you can understand what is scheduling, what is CPU scheduling types in the next chapter only. Okay, just to understand CPU scheduling in the sense which application has to take to execute on which time, that is scheduling we call. Okay, and layer 0 is the hardware, where the hardware are kept. So this is the way layered approach can be understood. Fine. Then what are the advantages of the layered structure? Some advantages are there. So you can see easy to add new features or making changes to one layer without affecting to another layers of the operating system. It means that if you want to add any new functionality or a new feature to the existing operating system, you can easily add with the help of the layered structure, because if any failure occurs in that particular layer, that only you can maintain or that only you can repair, others will not be affected. So it is very easy because of the modularity. Okay, because of the modularity, it is very easy to add new features to the operating system, or it is very easy to make changes to the existing operating system also, because it will not affect to the other layers. Fine. Next, any bug means any error, any bug or a problem in a particular layer is restricted to that layer only. If any error occurs in the particular layer, it will not affect to the others, because it is only restricted to the particular layer, that only you can correct it. It means that it is very easy to debug. That's all. It is very easy to debug because of the modularity, because of the layered design. That layer can be debugged, that I told already, corrected and redesigned without affecting the functionality of the other layer. If any error is there in the particular layer, that only you can correct very easily, and you can redesign it without affecting to the other layers. Okay, and it is very easy to new layers when required. Means if you want to adapt to new layers to add the existing operating, that is also very easy. Not only to correct, you can also add the new layer. It is very easy to insert that new layer. And these are some disadvantages of the layered structure. That is, the more than or the more the layers, the more the overhead incurred to maintain them. It means that if you have number of layers, okay, if layers are more, it is very difficult to maintain. Okay, you have to understand clearly which layer is working on which context. So that is the difficulty if you having more number of layers. Okay, if the functionality is not properly divided among layers, this is one of the major disadvantage. If the functionality is not properly divided among layers, it might be possible that one layer has too much functionality. Okay, it means that before designing the operating system itself, you have to understand how many layers you need to put and what the which layer is working on what context, or what is the functionality of that particular layer. You have to understand, and you have to divide that layers properly. If you are not properly divided, some layers may get more function than others. Means more burden can be put on the particular layer. So that is not good operating system, right? so that if the functionality is not properly divided among the layers, it might be possible that one layer has too much functionality. If this happens, that layer may be overburdened, leading overall system performance. It may cause lower, or it can make operating system more slow because of the functionality is given more to some particular layer. So we have to equally divide the functionality among the layers. That is the disadvantage of the layered structure. The next one is microkernel structure. Here I have already told that what is kernel. Kernel is a program where the main system operation, or which can control the system, it is also program that we call it as a kernel. Here one of the operating system we can understand, that is the microkernel structure, and it aim of this microkernel structure is we are keeping minimum functionality within the kernel. Okay, there is a kernel, other layers will be there in the microkernel structure, but in the kernel what we'll do, we'll keep minimum functionality into the kernel. At the same time, we provide the abstraction for the complete OS designing and implementation. In the sense, we will not give the detail about how the kernel is working to the user, so we will keep that into hidden, that is abstraction we call. So this is the designing of the microkernel structure, that is we will keep minimum functionality, we will abstract the complete designing of the operating system. The basic functionalities like process scheduling, inter-process communication, thread management. You will understand this thread management, inter-process communication in the next lectures. But as I told, we have to keep minimum functionality into the microkernel. What are those minimal functionality? Some functionality I have mentioned here, that is it might be a process scheduling, that we have to keep in the kernel. Inter-process communication, that also we have to keep in the kernel. Thread communication or thread management, these some functionalities we will keep into the microkernel or kernel. It means that most important functions we will keep into the kernel, that's all. Process scheduling, in the sense which process has to execute on basis like first come first serve is there, round robin, that you will understand in the process management. Okay, then other functionality like memory management, file management, input output device management, implemented through separate server process. We will not keep these functions into the kernel, but we will keep separate server to manage these functionalities like memory management, file management, input output device management. An example for microkernel operating systems are given here: Mac, AIX, OS X. These are the older versions operating systems, but these are the best example for microkernel operating system: Mac, AIX, OS X, Mini X. Okay, if you want to see the architecture of the microkernel structure, you can see it is given here. See now, again it is divided into many of the layer, but roughly you are seeing the outside layers only, right? So in the first you can see user mode. So this is the user mode, right? Application program is there. It means it is the program which user can execute, that we call it as application program. File system, device drivers are there. Okay, and these all can communicate with each other. Application program may communicate device driver, file system may communicate with application program. So this communication we call inter-process communication. Remember this, inter-process communication. This microsystem architecture or microsystem structure always executes with the message passing. Application program, if it want to access any of the file, it will send the message to the file system that I want to access some file from you. So it will accept, and file system will give back that particular file. The same way, if the file system want any device, okay, any driver, so it will send the message to the device driver that I want to access your device. So it will give back that particular access. This is known inter-process communication through message passing. Okay. Now, in the kernel mode, what happens? In the previous class only I have explained two different modes of the operating system. One is user mode and another one is kernel mode. So micro system architecture also consisting those two modes, one is user and kernel. In the kernel mode, inter-process communication happens, memory management happens, CPU scheduling happens. That I have already told. Inter-process communication in the sense processes may communicate with each other, that is inter-process communication, that is done in the memory management, that I have already told. So we will keep minimum functionalities like process scheduling, inter-process communication, thread management. Where we kept these we kept in the kernel. So you can see the figure now. This is the part kernel mode, this is the kernel mode part. Okay, I will highlight that particular area. See, okay, this is the kernel mode, this entire part, this is kernel mode. Kernel mode having minimum functionality. What are the minimal functionality we had? Inter-process communication is there, memory management is there, CPU scheduling is there. And the next layer or lower layer is hardware, where the hardwares are kept. So kernel can communicate with the hardware and kernel can communicate with the user. So this is all about microkernel system structure. And advantages of the microkernel structure is it is very easier to add a new functionality, or it is very easy to modify an existing system. Correct? This is the advantage. It is very easy to add new functionality, or it is easy to modify the existing system. Okay. System is reliable. System is reliable because if any failure is there, that particular area we can go and correct. So it means we can trust on the system, that is system is reliable to use. And portable. Portable here in the sense, if the operating system is designed like microkernel structure, you can easily port. It means you can easily transfer this operating system to the other systems also. That is, we are calling it as a portable. Okay. Minimum functionality within the kernel makes the kernel small and easy to maintain, because we are keeping very minimum functionalities in the kernel. Because of this minimum functionality, kernel is very small and it is very easy to maintain. These are the advantages of the microkernel structure. And only one disadvantage is there, that is it has a slow execution rate as high inter-process communication and context switching is involved. Two terms we have to understand. Context switching is there, we will understand in the next chapter, but I will explain what is context switching. If any process wants to access some data but which is kept in the microkernel, so what it has to do, application program has to ask the kernel to give the access. Once the kernel is giving back, and it will execute. It means that from user node to kernel mode, that it has to switch. This switching is called as a context switching. And one more thing, high inter-process communication. Disadvantage is there. What is high inter-process communication? If one program you are executing or any software you are using, but it has to access many subsystems, like it may ask a file system to execute, it may require device driver, it may require any other hardware. So this inter-process communication may slow down the system speed. That is only a disadvantage of the microkernel structure. Okay, now for you the question is, I think last class I have not given any assignments to you, so write and explain different structure, or write and explain operating structure. Okay, this only we have to write. Once I will show you, from here you need to write operating system structure, these types, simple structure you need to write, advantages, disadvantages, simple structure diagram if you want to note it down. This is layered, this is layered approach. If you want to write advantages like this, you have to write and explain about layered, or explain about microkernel structure, layered structure and simple structure. Okay, So I will write that question also. Explain about OS structure. That's all. This is your question. Okay, thank you.